Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks. This is your host, Irliana Samsara. So we're going to talk about the new moon that's coming up on Labor Day in the United States, Monday, September 6th. It's going to be 8:51 p.m. Eastern time, so it'll be right after midnight in Europe and going in the Eastern Hemisphere and then moving forward from there. Anyway, so this new moon is in Virgo. So Sun and Moon in Virgo means that Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Virgo is the nocturnal expression of Mercury. So Mercury is the host of this lunation. And who is Mercury? He's the trickster. He's the messenger god. He moves in between worlds. He has messages. He has information from the higher realms, and then shared with broadly, and it's Mercury's associated with thinking, the thinking mind, writing, communication, transportation, and all of these things. Now, in the sign of Virgo, we are looking at Virgo is a mutable earth sign. So we could see maybe changes in our beliefs or our expressions around health and service. These are Virgo archetypes, right? Health, service, work, one's routine, farming, the harvest, things like that. So, and Virgo is also, certainly writing, so I'm going to get into, in this podcast, I'm going to get into, where we might use this new moon, to start of course, on a new moon is the best time to start a new project. It's like a little miniature life. And we will have the full moon on September 20th in Pisces, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'll just walk you through the houses as where is this going to occur in your chart. And so what areas of your life you could have a new beginning with new insights. Before I do all that, I just want to say, man, I have just been through the hardest time. This, the Mars-Neptune opposition, Mars being in Virgo and Neptune in Pisces, Mars came into an opposition with that Neptune in the last several days. As you know, I think the loudest, most painful expression of that certainly has been the evacuation of refugees from Afghanistan and the relocation of all of them. So, and the tragedy associated with that, obviously with Neptune there was a loss, there was a loss of life, very sadly, and even suicide. Neptune can be a signature in suicides, which we knew about the suicide bombers. It's just so hard for me to even talk about that. It's just really, really painful. But anyway, a new beginning, for everyone. And now Mars has just moved off that by 1 degree. Now Mars, as of today, Saturday, September 4th, Mars is at 23 degrees. So the opposition was 22 degrees. So Mars just moved a degree off of that. And I'm like, thank God. This one was really hard for me. Virgo rules small pets. And Mars can be about separation, cutting. Well, I lost one of my pets, went missing last week. And it's just, obviously my heart is broken. And I've just had to do everything possible to maintain, a bigger vision about the whole thing and not getting caught up in grief. If you've ever lost a pet or loved one, you would, how it is. I've lost my parents, when my parents died, my mom died, there was just this unspeakable grief, and that grief can consume us, so it really did with me. I just, for a whole week, I had to postpone all my appointments and obligations and things. And it was just so hard. I couldn't even think this is like the first day that I've actually been able to function fully for the full day and, you do this podcast. But it was really, really hard. And so Neptune is also about rescuing. So I was on this mission, right? This Mars and Virgo, like, let's get, I wrote, details. I talked to people, I communicated, praying and talking to my beloved Toby. You've seen Toby before in my previous podcast, my big black baby. She's a big baby. And anyway, she was a rescue. And she came to me 5 years ago, came to my door starving. So I took her in when I wasn't planning to adopt anymore. I already had my other kitty. And so it was just really hard, So there's this loss, but there's this feeling of a quest of a mission, but this feeling of, doing everything you can, working as hard as you can, and struggling with that, with the fact that, that Neptune kind of just, you can drown in grief, or you can, I have had to maintain being realistic and rational and keeping my mind versus getting lost in like some fantasy illusion of la la land about the whole thing, but also maintaining hope and compassion for myself, for my pet, and so, yeah, that's the opposition, right? It's this balancing act, and one thing is integrated with the other. So I couldn't be just so focused on details that I would be consumed by anxiety, right? With Virgo, you could be overthinking in your action. In Mars, right? I could be overthinking it, and anxiety ridden or critical of myself, and versus having faith, right? Neptune and Pisces. And at the same time, it's like not getting so caught up in that you're not being rational. So it was definitely a balancing act, and it's still going on. So I just want to shout out to my dear cohorts at my Nightlight Astrology community. Thank you all so very much. I couldn't even like look at a chart or try to delineate. I'm like, right? But they helped me out with Horary. A Horary chart is when you ask a question. It's like you're asking the oracle. You ask a question in the chart. The hour and minute that you ask the question is when you pull a chart. And so they gave me enormously good information. So I'm very, very, very grateful to all of you. And Helene Dion, Michelle Corvaisier, Anna. I mean, I just, there's like so many people, like Rachel Middleton. It's like, oh my God, so many people. Too numerous to name, but thank you for your prayers. And if you could continue to pray for whatever's in the highest, for myself and Toby. We have to be, I think of it as like Mother Teresa, another, total saint being in service, right? She said once, when you do something, just do everything you possibly can. You work and give it your all, and then you just have to step back and let go and let God. Let go and give it all up to God, as she said. Just, and you have to, right? And that's a real Pisces Virgo axis, right? Just work, but work with faith and not be attached, so I've had to notice where I was not, we would not get attached to a result, but I'm committed to bringing her back, but I also have to be really even and not grasping, so I have to keep this space very neutral, and it's definitely a discipline, right? Okay. Anyway, so I hope that you have been fared through this opposition, that you fared okay and you were able to move through it, but it was in difficult houses for me. So yeah, anyway, but now, like I said, the lessons that we've learned in the last, week or so, we are now integrating, right? Integrating the lessons that we learned in that balance, between work and service and devotion and unconditional love and faith, and having faith amidst difficult circumstances, faith amidst the separation. And so, that has been, it's been really, really intense. But anyway, I hope that, now that Mars has moved beyond that, it's like the confusion and possible deception and all of that has cleared away, or we're slowly moving out of the quote fog of Neptune. And so we're able to, see more clearly and, excuse me, pardon me, take action, Mars, with discernment, Virgo, right? Taking action with discernment and, our mind and our sharp, intuitive mind. So being, perhaps more clear and focused now that it's past that opposition. So the opposition, of course, it always gives us lessons, but oppositions are of the nature of Saturn. So it's tough, it's challenging, you feel alone, you feel very, melancholy, these kinds of things. But of course, it caused me to get focused and disciplined with my mind, like don't go crazy, just stay calm and focused and in faith. So anyway, I just wanted to share that it really, it took me by surprise, that affecting another area of my chart I won't get into, but so it hopefully will work out. And like I said, just got to be unattached to all that, unattached to the fruits of my labor. So, but just anyway, so having said that, Mars, for this new moon, Mars, of course, is still in Virgo, but I guess we could say that the lessons that we've learned from that are definitely something that we're integrating and moving with as during this new moon cycle. Now, the nice thing about this, I will say, is Uranus is in Taurus, is making an exact trine. So it's a very powerful Jupiterian energy of like beneficence and blessing and assistance. Uranus is making an exact trine to this new moon. So that could bring about, some cool, innovative breakthroughs, some aha moments around our talents, the things that are important to us, maybe our finances, perhaps with, as it trines Virgo, our work and service. I thought, perhaps, Mercury being the host of this lunation, Mercury's in Libra. So that's Venus ruled. So it's like having this lovely connecting, ideas and ideas that connect people and provide harmony and love and balance would be a primary message. With trine Uranus, we could be, it would be a good time to meet and network with different people, interesting people, right? That innovative, different, interesting people. I think too, I always think of Uranus like LGBT community, or anyone who is breaking out of the box of stuck ideas and values, and anybody or anything that represents that brings a fresh, unifying approach, a humanitarian mission. I can see this as, perhaps breaking out of our comfort zone with the people that we normally connect with. We could liberate ourselves in our writing, right? Because Mercury rules writing. So liberation by like new values around writing, maybe art, creativity, with Mercury, the host being in that art creative sign of Libra, new values, bringing some fresh, beneficial approaches and innovative solutions. This would also be great for like perhaps connecting online or just in different ways. Online meetings, perhaps around health. Virgo rules health, specifically the colon and the intestines. And so health of the earth, right? Mutable earth. So it could be farming or anything regarding food harvest, service, nonprofit groups. That's all very Virgo, and nursing, taking care of things. So anything, and certainly favorable for those topics. We could have some creative breakthroughs with Uranus being in the Virgo sign of Taurus. I'm sorry, with Uranus and Taurus, ruled by Venus, we could have some creative breakthroughs regarding our writing, for example, or farming. When you think about Virgo being, I think about progressive gardening, like perhaps like biodynamic gardening. You could look up Rudolf Steiner if you're not familiar with biodynamic gardening, and reading books perhaps about and engaging our intellect and using our intuition with our intellect. perhaps biodynamic gardening, anything regarding progressive solutions for the earth, new openings for food and health, groundbreaking health alternatives. I'm thinking, if you wanted to start cleaning your colon this month, getting probiotics and prebiotics and kombucha and things that really support our gut, that would be on a health level, that would be really good. But just a little note, an idea of a book that I thought of when I put my notes together, in terms of gardening, just jumping back to that, progressive gardening. Well, there is a fabulous book. God, it would make a great movie. I came across it several years ago, and it's called, it's this woman, her name is Machaelle, and I believe she spells it Machaelle, Machaelle Small Wright, Wright, Machaelle Small Wright. And the book is called Believing as If the God in All Things Mattered. And I remember, not behaving, I think it's believing as if the God in all things mattered. And I believe the picture, the front page, the front cover of the book has somebody's hand holding a mouse. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, it's the memoirs of this woman who started a conscious farming community called Perelandra in Virginia. And you could think of it as like a Findhorn for the United States. So if you were really interested, you could also research, right? Virgo's great for research. Research the Findhorn, Findhorn, is an intentional community in Scotland. I believe it's at the very, very northern tip of Scotland, in this very craggy, I would think, hard to grow environment. But there's been a conscious community there for, I don't know, decades, probably 50 years. Anyway, but she went there and studied with them. And so very progressive. This woman was highly intuitive. I mean, she must have some serious Neptune energy in her chart. And anyway, prophetic Mercury too, prophetic ability. And she actually communed with, she literally hears audibly the nature spirits that are in charge of every single kind of growing thing. Like for vegetable gardens, like there's divas, like there's a carrot diva and a tomato diva and a cauliflower diva, right? There's a one in charge of every archetype you could imagine. And so she began speaking. She heard them one day and she thought she was going crazy. And she finally said, shut up. And then all of a sudden this racket stopped. And they said, oh, well, now that you can hear us, our work can begin. So it's like, this is a great conversation to have for the new moon in Virgo, right? Prophetic ability. This one happens to have a fixed star that's very associated with prophetic ability. So anyway, it'd be interesting to see what the chart looked like when she had this happen, but it changed her life. So she started talking to them and they would tell her how to plant a garden. For example, don't make rows, linear rows, plant everything in circles. You imagine the feng shui is greater. So it was really fascinating, and just wanted to share that with you. It's a wonderful book, and it would really, I think it would give us an enormous advantage to understanding these other worlds, that it's not just planting a seed in the ground, but if we really connect with different levels and dimensions of reality and read her book and maybe use our dreams and our intuitive processes to create something really, really phenomenal. So that would be very helpful with this Uranus trine, the new moon. This would be a very juicy time to do that kind of thing. Now, because last month we had the new moon in Leo, so Leo, the grand Leo, like the big picture, right? The grandiosity of Leo. And now it's like Leo hands the baton to Virgo and says, okay, now let's get this shining vision. Now let's in creative spirit, now let's get down to details. Let's get down to work, to move that forward. Focus on the details. I would say watch some being like with Uranus in that trine, of the nature of Jupiter. We could overdo it with perhaps being rash and impulsive, maybe a little rash and impulsive. So just be careful that we're not being, in our actions, being very rash. I would say too, like, we don't want to be ending up alienating people when we want to unite and connect with others. There may be, just beware of getting over anxious about the details, don't get too crazy, right? Analyze, with the Virgo, we can tend to over analyze things, analysis paralysis, right? Be discerning, certainly intuition, but discernment. And so I would think a good solution would be earthing, right? Earth. It's a new moon and an earth sign. Lie on the earth, feel the earth, thank the earth. I always find it's a great little pick-me-up. Even just 5 minutes, it can completely reset your system, just connecting bare feet on the ground, sitting, even if you're in a cold climate right now, if it's winter right now, heading into the spring in the Southern Hemisphere, even if you just put your feet on the ground, bare feet, even if it's cold, just 5 minutes. Right? You can always warm them up with fuzzy socks later, but it's enormously healing. Forest bathing would be another great Virgo idea. Where the trees and plants in a forest or walking through a forest will just clear us of our auric field, certainly from electromagnetic densities and things like computers and cell phones and such. So anyway, that's just my suggestions. Yeah, let me just go back quickly to health. Intestines and our colon, they say that 80% of our immune system is really centered not in the thymus. The thymus is the governor of the immune system, but the real 80% of the action is really in the gut, in the colon. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But so I would say perhaps this month is a good time to tune into our health, the health of our colon and our intestines. And if you haven't started to do a cleanse, attend to your health, do, maybe colonics and or prebiotics, probiotics, bifidus, acidophilus, all of that stuff. Research and look up taking care of our gut. Certainly, right, in this day and age right now, we definitely have to keep ourselves in tip-top health. And so I would say too that Marie Kondo, she's man, right, the queen of clean. And so with Virgo wanting to everything tidy, get those details, tidy up. This is a good time to get tidy. Certainly with its host Mercury and Libra, make a beautiful sacred space, make it tidy, clean out your closets. Mercury is going to go retrograde. It's going into shadow retrograde. I think it is Monday the 6th. It'll go retrograde at the end of the month, exactly retrograde, but it enters its shadow on Labor Day. So woo, sometimes you can actually feel that flip. It's like, it's that little, and you really tune in, you can feel it. You slip up with something, you mess up an appointment or a time. The hardest part, of course, is right before it turns retrograde would be the end of this month. But I'll get into that in in another video. But just to say that so that is always a great time to clear our closets, files, things like that. We're revisiting, and especially in the sign of Libra, it's like, oh gosh, we want it to be beautiful. And so Mercury is definitely like, so anyway, just good time for cleaning and tidiness. All right, so I will just finish by saying we have our, I'll just walk through the houses of where this would occur in your chart based on your rising sign. So I'll start with Aries. Aries rising, the new moon is in your 6th house. That is the joy of Mars in ancient astrology. So that could indicate perhaps some struggles with maintaining health and getting our vitality and taking care of, like I said, researching. I would say of all the signs, Aries rising, definitely being very discerning around our diet and health and such. So that's a 6th house thing. For Pisces rising, this is going to happen in your 7th house. So that rules our our long-term relationships or business partnerships or marriage house. So you would be finding that where it might, it'll create its greatest benefit. It has the most impact on that. And Aquarius, that would be the 8th house, and the 8th house is it's interesting. The 8th house is very, very deep. Oh my goodness. Yeah. 8th house Virgo, definitely looking at, I would say perhaps like a letting go. And I would say maybe it's about letting go of our need to have everything figured out. Just breaking everything down all the time, and just letting go and having faith, and not being in survival, and just, yeah. So anyway, that's just my little take there on the moment. Aquarius or Aquarius rising. Yeah, that was Aquarius rising, right? Capricorn rising, this is going to be in your 9th house, which is the house of God, the house of the sun rejoices in the 9th house. So with the sun in Virgo, for all you Cap risings, this is a very positive, powerful place. The 9th house rules, is the quality of its, higher knowledge and wisdom, the law, doing the right thing, spiritual knowledge, education, higher education. It can also be about foreigners or foreign cultures or interacting with foreigners, all of those things. So that's where the action would be taking place for you Cap risings. For Sag rising, this is going to be in your 10th house, which is your career, your praxis. And it can be the mother, it can be just, places of our public reputation. Our 10th house is our place of public reputation, and our where our dharma is seen, and the nature of our dharma. Scorpio rising, this is going to happen in your 11th house. So 11th house is the joy of Jupiter. So this is about a connection and expanding with friends and colleagues. So you might be networking and meeting people, making new friends. This might be a new beginning with new friends, and maybe being discerning about friends as well with that Virgo there. Let's see, Libra rising, this is going to be in your 12th house, which is the joy of Saturn. So that can feel, melancholy, lonely. It's not an easy house, and you might feel seclusion, and there might be a feeling of loss, of feeling lost or not having agency. But what to cultivate with that would be a sense of leaning into the mystical qualities of Saturn, right? Leaning into when we exercise and practice our mystical abilities and use that solitude to really go deep within ourselves, and finding solutions that way. Certainly the dream state, that would be very powerful for connecting with our ancestors and connecting with otherworldly communications. So that's the Libra risings. For all you Virgo risings, this is going to happen in your 1st house, which is your physical body, your health, your character, your appearance, your appearance, and how you show up to others. So, with Virgo there, obviously your health, is a primary, your health connected with your appearance, and mutable, changing, right? So it might be that you might find yourself making new choices around your physical appearance, and new choices that are more innovative around your health. Leo rising, this will happen in your 2nd house. 2nd house is about personal finances, possessions, talents, the things that are important to us. So this is where with Leo risings, this new moon in Virgo would be new beginnings, maybe about being discerning, very discerning around money, and not being anxious, but being discerning, and having had that Mars-Neptune opposition, right? Mars is still in your 2nd house, and maybe there was some financial loss, and maybe there was that feeling of being, shipwrecked, so to speak, financially. But maybe this would be the opportunity to maybe look back and discerning with a discerning eye, not critical, just not being critical of self, but really looking deeply and examining that and benefiting, of course. So, and I would say too, going back to the writing talents, that second house of talents and resources. So you might start writing, maybe you want to write a book, maybe you want to step out and do something different, so that Uranus trine is going to be assisting you with that. For Cancer rising, that would be, this new Cancer, blah, this new moon is in your third house. So that's about, siblings and neighbors and contacts and networking and communications. So a jolly good place, the joy of the moon, a jolly good place to have fun this month and explore these themes in that arena of our neighbors, our relatives, our close relations, and our immediate environment, immediate neighborhood, short distance travel, perhaps, things like that. Gemini, this is going to be Gemini rising. This will take place in your fourth house of the home and the roots, the family roots. And so perhaps, new ideas and creativity around and all of these subjects we've been talking about, having to do with home and family, property, things of that nature. Taurus, fifth house, Taurus rising. Okay, this is going to be in your fifth house of the joy of Venus, pleasure, love affairs, going out, enjoying oneself, amusement, creativity. It rules children too, and fertility and pregnancy. So maybe there's some new ideas for writing that'll come to the fore that want to be examined and want to be delved into. And with that, again, that trine from Uranus can bring some surprises, and because Venus is ruling that Uranus trine, and this is the joy of Venus. So you could be finding some exciting new opportunities for, connecting with others, and who knows, maybe a love affair with somebody that it was not in your wheelhouse, So that's for Taurus rising. So anyway, I hope that this has given you some good information, as always, and always desiring to be of service. So tell me what you think and how you've been faring with that, Mars-Neptune opposition, and what you learned from that, and what you're taking, the takeaway for you, and anything else you want to share, just in that comment box below. If you need a session or any way in which I can assist you personally, I'm open, open for business. StarSoundastrology.com is my website. So ring me up, as they say in the UK, ring me up. But actually, in this day and age, email me up. So Irliana@StarSoundastrology.com. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. This is Irliana Samsara, wishing you a wonderful, fruitful, lovely new moon in Virgo. Take care, everyone. Namaste.